Welcome, everyone. We see people coming in. We want to just make sure everybody has a few minutes, or a couple of seconds, I should say, or a minute to set up, and then we'll get started. Welcome, everyone, to our 50 Shades of Green event. We are so happy that you could come today and that you're going to share this time with us. I am Michelle Rohrlauer of Michelle's Interiors. I am partnering today, we're all partnering together with Scott Simpson from Design Build and Chalet Nursery. This afternoon, we are going to have many ideas to show you to be more eco-friendly and also have that luxurious backyard. And each of us will have 15 minutes to make our presentation, and we will wrap it up. The last 15 minutes, we will take questions. So you can enter the questions into chat throughout the whole presentation, and we look forward to answering them all. And I want to remind you, we have great prizes. So you have to stay at the end to win. You have to be here to win. So just a reminder. And now I want to hand it over to Scott.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thanks for coming. We're going to go through some really great, what we think are green items for your home and the outside of your home. We are going to start with, excuse me, let me get the screen up here. So we're a design build firm, and when we approach a house, as we have for the last 27 years, we start looking at the entirety of the lot that we're talking about. What we like to do, since doing our first LEED certified homes, we've done 4 of them now, is actually look at the lot from the very beginning and where that gets us from a standpoint of materials that are given to us already. As a woodworker, this is my favorite subject, is reclaimed material, and we get those materials from various places. Initially, we're looking at trees that are on the lot, that are either in the way of the construction of the house, or they've lived their life, and it's time to move them along. This is a picture of an example of that. We have the walnut base on this is taken from a tree on the property. And the headboard is an example of many pieces of wood throughout the project. We actually did this for a client in Northbrook, where the 2x4s, the wood floor, etc., those all became pieces of this headboard. So you can see this is a prime example of exactly what I'm talking about here, where we're taking every little last piece we can and implementing that into either the architecture or the furniture within the house. The last thing we want to do is send things off to the landfill. So we spend a lot of time looking at the property from the very beginning to make sure that we're being as eco-conscious as possible. The next opportunity is when we're looking at the property, is the house or houses that are on the property. Instead of just demolishing, which is what we did for many years, either a portion of the house or the entirety of the house if we're building a brand new house, is instead of demolishing the house in a couple of days, we're actually doing what's called deconstruction, where we're actually taking the construction process and turning it in reverse, where we're taking that process and we're taking everything apart piece by piece, categorizing all of that material, whether it's lumber, hardwood floor, or what have you, that make up the construction of the house. And we're and we're taking those pieces and donating those to various charities around town that then sell those off at a premium. This hardwood floor becomes a woodworker's dream. This construction material that you see that makes up this house is actually primo old growth lumber that we can use again and again, sometimes back into the house that we're building ourselves. This deconstruction process has become a profit center for most of our clients, because as we donate these materials, it's a donation value that our client gets to assume in the next tax year as a tax deduction. It really has become a great thing. It's also very often a great place for people looking to get into the trades, to learn the construction trade by taking apart a house. So again, one of the other places we look is reclaim material. We're not just reclaiming those from trees that are live on the site itself, but they're come from various other places. This house here in the larger picture is a house in Wilmette, where we actually found the material for the siding from a reclaimer in Wisconsin that took apart old pickle barrels from a plastic pickle factory, and we implemented that as siding in this house. The timbers that make up the front porch are what are called sinker logs down in Georgia. As they took trees down back around the turn of the century, they actually floated them down a river or through a lake to get those to the mill, and some of them sank. They're preserved over time because of that. They're brought back up by other reclaimers, and then we're able to mill those into wood. It's absolutely gorgeous wood. There's just a clear coat on these things. It's absolutely stunning. The other pictures that you see are the interiors of this house, the floor, the planks around the staircase are old warehouse beams from a Thomas Edison factory in Michigan. The hand railing and timbers that make up the treads going up that steel staircase were trees that were on this property, as is the mantle in the lower right-hand picture. You can't really see it in this picture very clearly, but there's a hearth there, as well as a backsplash in the distance that were taken from that are made up of old tiles from the Malincrot convent in Wilmette. They were reclaimed, cleaned up, and put back in. Some of them still have chipped edges from being walked upon over years. Really, really gorgeous stuff. Although we're taking buildings apart these days and using that wood and milling it up as new things, this is an example of actually taking a gym floor out of a Wisconsin school that was being replaced and literally just denailing it, bringing it to a site here in Wilmette and laying it back down as a gym floor. You can see the lines that are on the floor that used to make up the 3-point line or the key. They're put down in a haphazard way as more of an artistic expression. The white dots you see there are literally tape that were put down probably by someone playing a shorter key. But really, really gorgeous stuff and really fun to play with within our architecture. The next really easy thing to do when building and designing a home, from our perspective anyway, and very important, even when a client doesn't come to us and say, I want to build green, or I want to build a LEED certified home, or I want to build with sustainability in mind, we have this in the back of our mind all the time, from our design to our build. And since building 3 LEED certified homes, my partner Tom and I have really dug in from an education standpoint to make sure that we're doing things correctly and doing things to code, but also doing things maybe a little bit above code or beyond code, as we call it. And one of the things we really like to do these days is make sure that the envelope of the house, the exterior envelope of the house is as robust as it possibly can be. And the 3 things in my mind, in our mind, that make that envelope up are the insulation, the windows and exterior doors, and the indoor air quality. And I'll talk to you about each one of those now. Insulation for us these days is certainly well beyond code. And it's not just what we're insulating with, but where we're insulating. And the top left-hand picture is an example of exactly where we like to do that in a very simple form here, in that we no longer are insulating the attic floor. We're insulating the entire roof, the entire perimeter of the building. In the lower right-hand picture, you can see that we're air sealing, we're vapor sealing, and we're getting all the way down to the foundation. And in most cases, very, very robust package underneath the concrete slab of the basement. Very often our homes have a heated floor in the basement. Some of them don't, but even when they don't, we're insulating underneath that slab. It's very important for us, as I said in the top left-hand picture, to make sure that mechanical system and the ductwork is within that envelope too. And that does a couple of things for us. It actually it causes the mechanical system to work more efficiently. And actually the equipment's going to last longer, and the ductwork that we're putting in is within that envelope too. And no longer are you turning on the thermostat and feeling that cool air come out initially before it actually gets to the warm air. It's actually been conditioned already to a certain extent. The windows and exterior doors are also very important to us. And we've been using a very high quality windows from Marvin and Pella for years and years, either double pane or triple pane windows. The windows are there obviously to take in the view and to offer beauty and architecture to the spaces, as it does in this two-story dining room space. But they're also there to protect you from the elements and to act as insulation as best they can. So we're really, really focused on really high quality windows, a very robust window and door package. The middle picture is an example of why we want to do that. If you look straight through to the back of this house, through this dining room, you'll see the lake. That lake, Michigan, can be a very, very tough thing. And we're making sure that the windows, because of that and other conditions around the North Shore and in Chicago, are taken into account. Now that we've built this very robust insulated envelope of a house, almost a Yeti cooler, we have to make sure that we're not causing poor air quality within the house. As occupants continue to exhale and breathe, we want to be able to make sure that that air is changed over time. And what we call ACH, or air changes per hour, we're trying to condition and dial that in and make sure that now that we've built this beautiful, tight, warm, or cool house, we've actually been able to bring fresh air from the outside. Instead of just poking a hole in the wall and bringing fresh air in, we're actually introducing it into the house with this system here that you're looking at, called an ERV, or an energy recovery ventilator. And what that does is it's actually going to take humid and warm or hot air in July or August and introduce it into the system, or really cold air in December or January into the system, and condition it before it's brought throughout the rest of the house. Really, really great tool. It allows us to kind of adjust those air changes per hour very easily. We just recently did what's called a blower door test on one of our projects in Wilmette. And this is a tool that we use after we insulate the house, before we drywall, to determine where we have leakage, because we're actually trying to find and make sure that if we have leakage, that we fix that before drywall. And so this blower door test, what it tells us is where that leakage is, but it also tells us pretty quick how many air changes per hour we have even before we turn on any equipment. And that house was less than 2 air changes per hour, which is half a code requirement. Very, very great and robust insulation package in this house and in most of our houses. But that 2 air changes per hour is not going to be a good condition for a family to live in. So therefore, this piece of equipment, again, is of the utmost importance. The third thing that we take a look at, again, from a very easily attainable standpoint, low-hanging fruit, if you will, on the green spectrum, is daylighting. This is, I think, a really interesting subject these days, especially since so many people are working from home. We have either windowed or skylights in houses that that allow light in as well as air in and so forth. But the light that it's offering allows you not to necessarily have to turn on lights in the house, saving energy, saving on your electric bill. We start that process from the very beginning when we're looking at a new home and its site, what direction front door faces, what direction back door faces, where's our sun, where's our solar heat gain, where's our view. These are all things that we look at from the very beginning of a house design and construction. And the daylighting is a thought from the very beginning. One of our architects at Scott Simpson Design Build, Amy Mangold, likes to say she's never been accused of putting in too few windows. And that's absolutely the case. We're trying to not just make the house beautiful from the outside, but also from the inside. But as builders and as not just designers, but as builders, we're looking to make sure this house performs. So the windows, where they are, what we're looking at, and what direction they're facing is very, very important to us. As I said, windows, one of the primary reasons for having them is to take in views. You've got a beautiful lot, why not take advantage of it? And this office on the left-hand picture was not put in this position by accident. There's a view out there of a forest and of a ravine that is absolutely stunning. This is an office that was even before COVID and pandemic that these clients were going to be working from on a daily basis, and that we wanted that view to be there for them. Obviously, that tub is there on purpose as well, as is this porch or porches. They're taking in the view, they're offering light. Absolutely important to us as we design and build a home. And then last but not least, certainly not least, and this is where the chalet comes in, it's getting outside, right? So our houses are made up of rooms and spaces, and one of those, from our perspective, is the exterior and what that has to offer. Not just from escaping your home, but also to take in your home as a view as well. Your backyard, but also your house itself. Hopefully, well, if we've done our job correctly, it's a piece of art. In my estimation, the back elevation, such as this one with the pool, is actually a better view sometimes than the front of elevation. Our front elevations are gorgeous, there's no doubt, but the back elevation, to me, tends to be a little bit more playful, a little bit more artistic, a little bit more relaxed, and a beauty that you want to take in. So sitting in your backyard, looking back at that house, or spending time in your backyard or those spaces is part of living in your home or around your home. With that, I want to thank you very much for inviting me today, and I want to introduce Darren from the Chalet.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. Thank you, Michelle and Scott. Beautiful presentation there, and the opportunity just to collaborate with you guys. So my name is Taryn Engel, one of Chalet's landscape service directors, accompanied by a hardworking and ever-talented Eric BRAUN, who will be following me. Give me a minute here and I will pull up our presentation. Okay. So, I mean, obviously today is a great day to talk about sustainability, talk about rain, talk about permeable hardscape options, right? Sustainability is always a hot topic. So bombarded by the news of climate change, right? We're always left wondering, how can we make a difference? How do our tiny little actions make any difference on this big planet? So as landscape architects, we think about that basically all of the time. And, you know, with more despair than hope at times, but there's always room for hope. So as landscape architects, you know, we're charged with the duty of being good stewards of the land. When it comes to the world of residential homeowners, you know, we can almost think of all of ourselves as landscape architects, and it's really all of our responsibility to care about the land, you know, the home, the earth we share together. It's all of our, you know, that we love so much. So fortunately, we're here today to show you a few ways, small decisions that we can make on our outdoor living projects might positively benefit the collective as a whole, both locally and also regionally. So to begin, I'll kind of start us off with some permeable hardscape options, and I'll let Eric catch up with some water conservation strategies. So the big question is, yeah, why care, right? So how do we define the problem? So let's start basically there. So why care, right? We're all human. So this is our only place to live until Elon gets us all to Mars. So we're going to take care of it. It's our responsibility. And as we can see, right, in the next couple of days, like every spring, stormwater runoff is a big issue. So, you know, whether you're living next to a river or maybe you have a house on Lake Michigan, right, and you're experiencing that bluff erosion, stormwater runoff is a continuous problem in the Midwest, and it just literally trickles downstream to affect, you know, the larger tributaries, rivers, oceans, etc. So that's, you know, we can start by making the impact at home, right? And ultimately, even though you may not see it, it does affect us down the line. So, you know, some common examples, right? You think of permeable pavers. You might have seen grass pavers. You might have seen, you know, permeable concrete or something like that. They typically have larger lugs on the sides to allow the water to pour through. And so basically that's just, you know, a brief overview on that. I'll jump in a little farther, right? Just a little bit more explaining, you know, looking at the toxins that are essentially running off our parking lots, that are running off of our lawns. So that's why, you know, even organic lawn care is so important in continuing to protect our waterways. So. Right. So essentially, you know, how do we protect them, right? It's through this is an easier way to essentially capture that stormwater runoff. Whether that's, again, it could be on our patios, it could be on walkways, it could be on our driveways, but it gives us a chance to collect the water, filter it through the ground. So not only does it increase the function of the space, right? We're also giving the ground a chance to filter out all of the toxins before it goes back into the groundwater itself. So I just have a couple photos here of an example project we did last year. Client in the city, small backyard. You can see it's not big between the stoop that they have, the garage and the fence. You know, it's a mud pit with a couple of flagstones. And so they're trying to figure out how can we use this space? Well, there's no real place to direct the water. You can't direct it to the neighbor. You're not going to be able to absorb it in the driveway necessarily in this particular case. So we looked at permeable patio as an option, right? And in that case, we're digging down almost 18 inches or more. Basically, it's almost like building a pool in your backyard, filling that with gravel, and then allowing the water to basically sit below the pavers. So it worked out fantastic in that sense that, you know, now they've got a fully functional landscape, fully functional patio, and they never have to contend with water issues. So even if you don't care about 50 shades of green, you don't care about going green, you can still make a difference if it's only in your interest in, you know, having a usable space. But in any case, you know, reducing stormwater runoff, right, helps reduce the water in the drains, keeps pollutants out of streams, meets, you know, restrictions on impervious surfaces, which I'm sure if you live on the North Shore, you're seeing the village tighten up those restrictions every single year as far as their lot coverage and the ability to do literally anything with your property. Permeable pavers give you a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more options. So you can jump back here. Okay. to basically the applications, right? So where can we even use these permeable pavers? Like I said, you know, we can look at patio spaces, we can look at walkways, and then we can look at a couple of different material options when it comes to those. So with concrete pavers, there's a number of manufacturers, whether it's, you know, Unilock, Belgard, County Materials, and a number of different styles. So if it's something that's more contemporary or something more rustic, all of those manufacturers basically have something similar that will kind of work for your home and give you some flexibility. So at, you know, at different price points, as well as style options to basically complement your architecture. So clay pavers are another great option. Personally, one of my favorites because they're so cost effective. On the low, basically the lowest price point of the range. You know, they're right there next to concrete pavers. They're timeless in that sense, is that the color never fades, right? It's a natural material, so they can get chipped. They're still going to look great. And you know, whether they are permeable with the lugs, in this case, you know, the ones on the left here are going to be permeable with the lugs, and that water is going to infiltrate faster. In this case here, this is technically not a permeable paver, you know, it doesn't have the same lugs, but it's installed on the same permeable base. So basically this photo here is kind of showing the depth of the permeable gravel base. And this is using a North Shore blend paver, clay paver. So it's mixed in color range, but from the surface, you can't tell the difference, right? The surface is still accomplishing the same function. And so that's the same, you know, it's basically the same for a number of materials. Is regardless of the material, anything can be installed on a permeable base, you know, given the right conditions. So like natural stone is another great option. You know, obviously natural stone doesn't come with lugs built in, but you can either space it out like so, or you can have a tight joint like either of these examples, and it can all still be installed on a permeable base. Because either way, the water is going to infiltrate and percolate through. It just is going to be a slightly slower rate than if the pavers themselves had lugs. So, got a couple of gravel options here, whether it's you know, a walkway. They can use these basically like plastic grate systems to kind of hold in the gravel so that you don't, you know, you're not stepping on 3 to 4 inches of gravel and sloshing around. You're stepping on, you know, a 1/4 inch of gravel, and it has a firm traction. So these can be used, I've seen them used in driveways as well as walkways. They're great for providing the structural support, but also having that permeability aspect that we're looking for. So again, whether that's a large patio, it could be walkways, and it can be driveways. There's a number of options that we can use. So, and last would be the porcelain tile option, which is super popular, probably more so in the city and on roof decks. But in these tight little city backyards, we've done quite a few of these. Where the material is, you know, it can be clean contemporary. You're using the 2x2 pavers. And basically in the same thing, where's the water going to go? Because in this case, there's nowhere to direct the water. It's basically it's perimeter fence. So in that case, the water has no choice but to go down. So in this case, porcelain tiles, we actually separate them with spacers, since they also do not come with lugs. And then the spacers allow for that water to percolate through. In this case, it worked out that we just left a little 6-inch banding, so any residual water could just hit the sides and go through below after that. So moving on to driveways, you know, obviously that's a much bigger space, a much larger volume of water we can store, and there are a million options when it comes to materials that we can use for that. So turf block might not be as common, and it is the 2 strips might be something that's a little outdated, but it's still technically a permeable option. And with the turf block, they could either be, you know, you could fill them in with grass if that is irrigated and it's probably not used so heavily, the grass would survive. Otherwise, of course, you can use them, you know, if there's gravel backfill in that case. This is a little nice with the color contrast. The only difficulty here is going to be snow plowing. and basically the blade edge of the plow not catching these pavers. That would be the most difficult aspect, which would probably make it the least usable in Chicago. As far as concrete pavers, yeah, there's another example project here. On the left, you've got more of a Brussels block that can be a permeable base, so it has more of a rustic feel, and that's very traditional. On the right, something more contemporary, and this is set on the entire thing. As you can see, basically that 18 inches is excavated, fabric is laid down. There's a 3/4 inch gravel that's laid first, and then the pavers are set on a 3/8 chip. So, and then if we look at basically what happens if we don't use the right material. So if you pull back, you can see these sizes of the pavers are relatively smaller, and it allows for distribution of weight for your vehicle tires. In this case, this is a great project downtown. They use a large paver here. It's more of like 18 by 18. And in this case, this is not installed on a permeable base. So number one, they failed because of that. Number two, the size of the pavers themselves. So those sizes of the pavers are too large, creating basically too much torque is taking place on a single paver, causing these pavers, the large pavers, to just basically twist and butt up against the other pavers, causing them to break. So the whole driveway has experienced failure because of that. So if we slip into natural stone, there's a couple options there. If we wanted to look at some reclaimed street pavers, which are super nice, definitely on the pricier end of the spectrum, as well as granite cobbles here or a land and stone cobble. These are all going to be on the pricier side, but they're timeless. The color is incredible. The material obviously lasts forever. It's been around a lot longer than any of us, and it's not going anywhere. So it's not going to fade, and if it chips, there's no problem there either. And again, clay can be used as well. In this case, this is, they're not tumbled pavers, but they can be installed on a permeable base as well. So depending on the style of your home, right? In this case, you've got a couple of blended paver material options that make sense with this architecture here. And in the photo below, you've got those dark chocolate colors that we selected basically to pull in the colors from the garage door. So there's a nice, the pavers themselves are complementing the architecture very well. So, and with that being said, I will transition to the master of disaster, Eric BRAUN.
All right, thank you, Darren. I'm going to share my screen here. Yeah, and Darren had a ton of good and great information there. First off, hello everyone. My name is Eric BRAUN from Chalet, landscape architect here and designer, and wanted to cover a few things on the landscape side of things, as well as drainage structures and some strategies for mitigating water, but also some ecological and sustainable solutions just overall for your properties. So with that being said, on the softscapes side of things, or plants, wanted to dive in a little bit. Of course, plants add, in any outdoor space, add a great element of color, seasonal evolution, interest. Bring pollinators in, host wildlife, all of those great things that help add elements of sustainability to your landscape. On the water side of things, one thing I wanted to start off right away is just kind of to share or kind of dispel a common misconception as far as plants alone will not fix water issues. If you have a wet area in the yard and it's holding water, throwing some perennials or shrubs in there is not going to solve the issue by itself. If anything, you'll probably just end up with dead plants, especially if you're not choosing the right plants to begin with. The best water solutions and sustainable water solutions and overall landscape solutions are going to be a combination of both natural systems, such as plantings and soil strategies, and then engineered or built structures such as, you know, underground drainage cisterns and things of that nature. So I just wanted to start off with that because we get that question a lot. People have a wet spot in the yard and they'll try to put some plants in there thinking that the plants will soak up all this water and fix the problem. And unfortunately, it's, you know, with the best of intentions, but that does not always work, and it does not work in and of itself. From a sustainability standpoint, though, you're always going to want to use the right plant for the right place. You know, every plant has a spot where it does best, whether it be shady or sunny, wet or dry. And if you are trying to take the wrong plant and put it in the wrong space, you're going to essentially just waste resource after resource after resource trying to get it to live and to do what you want it to do. So that's in and of itself an unsustainable practice as well. So you can see, you know, on this left photo here, nice woodland patio, which is, you know, I'm sorry, walkway, which is located in a relatively wet area. But all those plant selections have been designed and geared towards wet, shady environments. And you can see that they are absolutely thriving and doing fantastic there. And that's what they should be doing. And then a couple other examples, we have your dry sun, you know, spotlight, which is going to be an completely different plant palette than the other photos. And so designing towards your space is going to be one of the key strategies for a sustainable landscape to begin with and get it started on the right foot. Then going out to just different varieties. Of course, you know, native, we've all been talking about natives for years. There's not necessarily anything, it's not necessarily a new term or anything new, but it's still important to always put emphasis on using native plant material when possible, because from a sustainability standpoint, those are the plants that have grown here. They are built for these soils. They are built for this environment. They are built for this cold and this heat. And therefore you don't need to give them as many resources, whether it be fertilizer or watering or, you know, time and maintenance in order for them to thrive from a sustainability standpoint. And then, of course, you know, using drought and or wet tolerant species where it makes sense is going to set everything up for success. And one thing from a trend, you know, trending standpoint, I did want to focus on ornamental grasses because they are a very trendy, hot item in the landscape design realm right now. There's so many different types to choose from. Not only are they overall generally low maintenance plants, but they provide seasonal texture, provide winter interest, provide a lot of different colors. They're the type of plant material that are going to create a seasonal evolution in the landscape and have it always looking different from season to season. And you can see there, I've just listed out a few of the most common families of ornamental grasses that we typically like to use in integrated design solutions. And there's a couple photos down in the lower right-hand side as well of, you know, and you can even just see, especially in this photo, those are all different types of ornamental grasses, and they all come in all different shapes and sizes, whether you have a small city lot, like some of the photos that Darren was showing, or a large estate. There's always something for every space, and even some shadier spots, sedges or certain Hackanachoa grasses can even do well in a bit of shade. Then going out to drainage. So, you know, Darren definitely started to dive into that topic too with the permeable base side of things. And from the softscapes side of things, wanted to dive into a little bit on some of these drainage systems and strategies. I wanted to make it clear, you know, the goal for a sustainable drainage system isn't necessarily to take all the water and just immediately get it off your property as quickly as possible and have it be someone else's problem. That'll lead you into, you know, possible legal issues, angry neighbors, and like Darren said earlier too, it's just not, you know, we're all in this together. You know, you don't want to take your water and just dump it on someone else and have it be their problem. So the overall goal for a sustainable drainage solution is going to retain the water with and then filter it, you know, clear out toxins, clear out impurities, and then slowly release it either onto your site through the subsurface or off site. And there's a couple different ways to do that. So bioswales, many of you have probably heard these terms, the bioswales or rain gardens or dry streams. Overall, they're kind of overarching terms. There kind of is some crossover there, but overall the goal is to slow down the water, filter it, use it in combination with plant material to slowly allow water to percolate down through the subsoil. And then also, whenever there is water overflow, to be able to slowly overflow it to a more desirable area or an allowable area if you're working in a village that keeps an eye on your water retention on site. And one of the benefits with this as well is that it's not only a functional solution, but it's aesthetically attractive. Engineered solutions like catch basins or sewer systems and things, they work. They certainly work and are designed to work. They tend to be some of the ugliest things to look at in any outdoor site. So when you can combine them with plant material and some of these other strategies, you get not only a system that functions, but also is visually and aesthetically pleasing. Now, when it comes to underground storage, we're seeing more and more and more of the need for this, especially with village requirements. Whenever you're building some of these patios or hardscapes or driveways or new homes, a lot of villages are requiring underground storage. So there's many different strategies, many different products out there. They range from what we see on the left-hand side here are what's called Aqua Blocks. You can essentially think of it like as a large reinforced crate with a ton of void space in there. Each one of those boxes is going to hold 32 gallons of water. And those can be placed in low-lying areas of the property or areas where water is being carried to on the short term, store it on site and allow it to slowly percolate down. They also can be used under some of those areas that Darren was showing, patios, driveways, and things like that to hold a lot of water and slowly disperse it through the soil. Then lower right, you can see this is just an example of a buried downspout with a small cistern and how that's designed during light rain events. The water will carry through the piping into that cistern and just slowly percolate down through the subsoil. In heavy rain events where it can't keep up with that much water, or if it's been a rainy couple of days and the ground is already saturated, it will just bubble up through that surface grate in the lawn and then sheet flow over to a surrounding area. And I'm not going to dive into this more because Darren already did, but I just wanted to show, obviously permeable base for hardscapes are a great solution to aid in drainage and sustainability for water. As landscape architects too, whenever we're stepping foot on a site, that's one of the first things we need to look at is where's the water coming from, where is it going, and how do we need to address it? It's always a kind of a constant thing that we need to keep in mind on properties. And then I did want to mention lawns, because some of you may know this and some may not, that lawns actually typically use the most resources in any landscape. Between the irrigation, the fertilization, the mowing, all of those resources diving into that perfect, green lawn that so many people love and cherish, really actually, saps a lot of resources out and dollars, out of the environment. So if you're truly trying to, find strategies to be more sustainable, there's traditional lawn substitutes. You could do no-mow turf. So that photo right there is actually at a property with some no-mow turf. You can see it kind of actually has a really cool design element to it where it kind of looks like that bedhead look. There's steppables. Over here on the left, you have kind of a Japanese garden look with woolly thyme and red thyme and other types of steppables or herbs or sedges. And then synthetic turf is certainly an option as well. If you're looking to, have something that's low maintenance, green, doesn't need those constant resources put into it to maintain. So those are a couple recommendations. And then there's also other options too, other strategies in general for conservation from a lawn standpoint. If you have a lot of lawn, you can always alter the use of those spaces, turn them into planting beds. It's a good opportunity for vegetable gardens. If the area is sunny enough to be growing a nice lawn, then it's probably sunny enough to have a successful vegetable garden. You could also do ground cover beds, especially if it's an area where lawn is just always thin and it's kind of a constant battle to even get it to grow. It's not worth it. It's going to be a constant battle. Switch it over to ground cover or something like that that's going to really be built for that spot. And then if you still have to have your lawn but want to figure out ways to reduce the environmental footprint, then you can just turn down the irrigation during the summer. You can seasonally adjust it. A lot of controls nowadays, the controllers have seasonal adjust, or just allow the lawn to go dormant naturally during the hot summer months. This picture of this lawn is not dead. It's just dormant. That's what grasses naturally do. And as soon as the temperatures come back and rains come back, it'll be as green as ever. So from an aesthetic standpoint, if you're okay with having a dormant lawn, and then there's nothing wrong with that. It's another strategy as well. So thank you very much for your time. So I'm going to pass it over to Michelle to talk about some other design trends.
Thank you, Darren and Eric and Scott. It was great presentations and so much information, so greatly appreciated. And hello again to you. I am going to start my presentation now. So, you're here today and you're probably wondering, like, what is 50 Shades of Green? My thought of it is that your home does not have to be totally eco-friendly green to make a difference. You could have a light shade of green, or you could go to a really deep forest green. Every little step or small step that you take will make a difference, and it'll make a difference in your health and in our planet. My goal is to provide sensible, eco-friendly design options to clients. Ultimately, it's their choice. I compare it to buying organic foods and exercising. Everything you buy does not have to be organic, and you don't have to work out like an athlete to improve your health. Eco-friendly design is a life insurance policy for the future, and it's my way of giving back. And really getting to know the aesthetics of how you want to live in your home, and the approach I have is that we want to bring the indoors out, and we want to do it with an effortless transition. I begin with asking a lot of questions. Who uses this space? How do you want to use this space? And I'm actually working with a client now, and they have grandchildren, and the space is pretty well designed around the grandchildren, but we know soon they'll be inviting their friends also. And your backyard becomes a collection of rooms with green walls, because your landscaping becomes your backdrop. And you would have your dining area, maybe you want lounging, you might want to be gathering, and you also might want to sit by the pool, have a fire pit. And I would say a lot of us would like to have that little quiet space that is private just for us. And then we want to create it and make sure it has your personality and your style. And when we create this, and if you feel your landscaping is not quite to par or you need help, you can always reach out to Chalet. They can design it, install it, and best of all, they can maintain it also. So one of the things that I like to start with is the furniture. And I'd like to show you a couple of things of how we can be sustainable. So on our screen, you'll see the umbrella by the pool with the red. This is 100% certified sustainable bamboo. The whole entire umbrella can be recycled, which is fantastic. And another thing is about bamboo that you may not know, a little tip, is that it's also naturally has an antibacterial. So you could use it for a cutting board or cutting or dishes, etc. And then over to the right, where we have the chase lounge and the table, that is teak. Teak is an incredibly durable wood. It is naturally weather resistant. It's very hard. It has oil in it, and it also has rubber, which makes it very strong. And we know it's strong because they make ships out of it. And the other benefit to it is it ages. It has a beautiful patina. And this teak here happens to be grown on a sustainable plantation. So it's extra special. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have those clean lines. That patio set there, it has the blue hydrangeas. That is made out of aluminum. Aluminum is one of those few materials that can be recycled over and over and over again. So it can have many different lives. 75% of all of our aluminum is still in use today, which I think is pretty incredible. And it's durable. And then moving over to the umbrella in the center there, added that because heat lamps are always great in the backyard, especially in the Midwest, because it extends our season probably by 2 months. Can probably be outside, weather permitting, April through October, which I think is great. And then for the photo in the bottom right-hand corner, this is wicker, which is totally recyclable. But this is also something I want to point out. When you look at this, look at the cushions on this piece. It's fabulous. Look how thick that is. Have you ever been with a family or friends and you're sitting around and you're talking and you're like having a great time? It's 2 hours and you can't wait to get out of the chair because the chair is not comfortable. It doesn't fit you, but you're having so much fun. It's hard, right? You sit in a chair like that, you'll be happy till you're done talking. So it's a very good thing to also look at your cushions for comfort. And then next, what I'd like to talk about are fabrics. Because now that we have the furniture, fabric will give you a lot of personality and style and the wear and the look of things that you want. So fabrics years ago used to be very coarse, not a lot of color, not soft, not forgiving. Today, the fabrics actually look like indoor fabrics. This has the look of a chenille, very durable, nice texture. And then you compare it with another fabric that is completely smooth, more clean line. And then you have a little texture in this stripe. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the fabrics today are phenomenal. They really make a statement. The other thing that I like to do with fabric outside is if you have a cabana or you have a pergola or a pool house, I think it's great to add some panels or drapery. And in our area, sometimes, depending on where your location is, it might be very windy. So you could draw the panels, block the wind, block the sun, plus it adds a softness, it's cozy, and it can also make it intimate. And you'd want a fabric that has a little bit more of a drape. And I love this pattern. It's just beautiful. And if you don't have a cabana or a pool house, Scott Simpson and his team could design it and build it for you. And I think it would be a great addition to your backyard. One of the other things that I wanted to point out, this is a lamp that's a floor lamp, and it's about 5 feet tall, and it has no cords and totally LED lighting. And it's wonderful, it makes a statement. And it gives you a great ambiance of lighting in the evening. So now we have fabric, we have drapes, we have all these things. The next thing that we might want is an area rug. So area rugs also have come a long way. So I want to share this rug here with you. Look at the texture of that. You wouldn't mind having that in your home. You could have this in your family room. It's soft to the touch, it's durable. This can be custom sized to any size you want. And the other thing is it's made in the USA. So it's an extra bonus, and delivery can be quicker. And you have all these outdoor palms that you can choose from to make that. And then this one, I also have to share. So this is made from recycled water bottles. And again, you have the weave, and this can be custom made in any of those colors, combinations, different patterns. And the other thing that I really think is great about this is it's pet friendly. And a lot of times people would say, you know what, I might need this in a room in my house too. So again, great style, great durability, and great feel. And I'm just going to share a couple other rugs with you that we have. just to give you an idea of how outdoor rugs have developed. Just beautiful. And then on the screen, what I have here, which I would like to share with you, this is one of the vendors that I've worked with for years. This is Kravit Furniture and Fabric. So they have just introduced their first indoor-outdoor fabric. Their fabric is 100% recyclable. They use pretty much zero water to manufacture it, which is huge. The colors are beautiful. The fabric is supple, so it has a really good hand and feel to it. And like myself and Kravit, we're members of the SFC, the Sustainable Furnishings Council. And again, they are part of this because of their manufacturing and having really the use of barely any water. So I think that's great. Great job, Kravit. Now we have furniture, we have fabric, now we have accessories. So accessories, I always think are like jewelry, right? So it's jewelry for your yard. So we have this beautiful sculpture here, and this is made of 100% recycled aluminum. I know I said this before, but I think it's so phenomenal, and that 75% of all aluminum is still here today. And look at that piece. It makes such a statement. That happens to be on a table, could be in a beautiful garden, a walkway, wherever that piece is, it speaks to you. The other thing I'd like to point out, to the right here, we have that board, a serving tray, and you probably can't guess what that's made of, but this is a company called Value Chop, and they recycle chopsticks, and they have recycled 32 million chopsticks, probably 33 by now. But they make coasters, they make wall art, and they're a zero carbon footprint. So they are doing a fantastic job. And one of the things why I like 50 Shades of Green, because you can be a little green, a lot of green, but even if you're choosing a product that may not be as deep of a green, still has a value of green, the manufacturing today can be totally green and 100% green on that side, because manufacturers today are really taking care in how things are being produced, the water usage and everything. So, or how it's grown or how it's going to get renewed. So there are so many companies, as we're seeing right here, that are doing a phenomenal job. In the bottom right-hand corner, this piece, it's called a Colosso. I think it's a perfect name. What a great piece to have in a garden, that hideaway place where you might want to have that glass of wine or read a book or meditate. But this piece here is 99 inches wide. I think they should have just made it 100. And you know, it's just a beautiful piece. And it is made out of 50% of stone powder, which makes it a form of sustainability. So it's really wonderful. So now we have all the accessories. We have the furniture, carpet, etc. What do we need now? So when we're in our home, the heart of the home is the kitchen. So when you're outside, you have to have food, because we're all foodies to some degree. So I have partnered up with Sub-Zero, and I met up with Lisa Smith, and she is going to show you one of their appliances for the backyard and the features of it. So give me a moment, because I'm going to start that video. There might be a little lag, and hopefully it goes smooth. So just hold on for a minute. Thanks. Hi everyone, today I want to introduce you to Lisa from Sub-Zero, and I want to share a couple of great tips about sustainability from Sub-Zero. The first is they're made in the US in Madison, Wisconsin. And secondly, two things that are kind of together is the waste for the landfill and also water waste is almost zero, which is fantastic. Congratulations, Sub-Zero. It's a great achievement. But today, can you also show us like some of the things we may not know for outdoor grilling in our backyard?
I'd love to. So thanks, Michelle. We're talking about the Wolf Outdoor Grill today. And a fun little tip that you can think about with the Wolf Outdoor Grill is that you're not only bound to the grill surface itself when it comes to your steaks and your burgers that we all know and love. Take something like the rotisserie. This comes with this outdoor grill. You can put a whole chicken or cauliflower on there and make a really, really cool, different meal for your guests.
And then if you're the home chef that day, everyone's standing around, well, it'll look fabulous and there'll be an awe of all the things that you can do on the grill. And it's healthy.
That's right, it sure is. Speaking of healthy eating, we also have an accessory, which is this griddle plate. You can do something like fajitas on there, crab cakes, and you're doing it right out there on your brand new outdoor space in your beautiful backyard. It's kind of fun.
Sounds fantastic. And I love crab cakes. So I can't wait to try that. And everybody, thank you so much. And we can't wait to see you next time. So that concludes our presentation of 50 Shades of Green. I hope that you have learned things about sustainability and how you can incorporate just a few or possibly a lot of our ideas into your space and into the way, or either way, we hope that you are inspired and that you find your own shade of green. So now we will open it up to questions.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. I'm Carly from Chalet. I'm just going to be the question facilitator. But thank you all. That was awesome. That was very informative. Very cool. I'll try to address the questions to each one of you when it's noted. If you do have a question, try to mention who it's to, whether it's Scott, Chalet, or Michelle, and then I can direct the question to them. Or if it's just a generic question, I can also just ask that. But you can send those in the Q&A box or the chat box. I'll be checking both. We can get started. A question for Darren. Are the porcelain tiles for the outdoors slip-proof? I think you're muted, Darren.
My bad. They are non-slip, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Another question for Darren. Can you talk about the budget implications for a permeable versus standard concrete paver installation? Darren or Eric?
Oh, yeah, basically, yeah, permeable is always going to be a little bit more expensive because of the excavation required, right? It's a deeper excavation and it's going to be more gravel material. So that's what separates it. It's not a lot. It might be $1,000 to $2,000 difference overall, but certainly worth it in terms of, you know, what you can achieve and how much more functional your patio is in the process. So.
Awesome. Michelle, if we didn't want the teak to patina, what maintenance is required? If we didn't want the teak to patina, what maintenance is required?
If you wanted to keep it its original color, you would need to seal it. And depending on the location of it, you might have to do it every year.
Awesome. Scott, can you talk a little bit about green roofs?
Yeah, sure. So I think similar to what Darren said earlier about the sidewalks that he's building, you're basically building a pool on your roof. We're trying to contain the plant material, but also because of the plant material, we're assuming a lot more water is going to sit on that roof for a lot longer. It's got to drain someplace, obviously, but yeah, it's certainly something we've done a few times in the past and plan on doing more. But it's a great way to cool your house as well and keep it cool when you have a flat roof.
Awesome. Eric, are there any grasses that will do well in partial shade?
Yeah, there definitely are. A couple that we like to use, especially are Hakone grasses. So I know we talked about natives. They're not native. They're from Japan and over in Asia, but those are really popular. There's a golden variety, and then with a nice chartreusey yellow green, and then a straight green variety. Sedges are another great option. There really is a sedge for every environment. It's a very large family of grasses. And there are some that are native to like woodland areas like wood sedge, oak sedge, Pennsylvania sedge, fox sedge. And then there's also some that are great for wet areas too. So sedges in general, there's a lot of different options. And if you're looking for something else that isn't technically a grass, but kind of looks like a grass, liriope or lily turf is a great ground cover that has kind of a grassy look to it. That can handle a good amount of shade, but not wet areas. So keep that in mind too.
Awesome. Michelle, what brand are the outdoor rugs you were showing? The recycled bottle and the black and white checkered type. Thanks.
They are Delios.
Awesome. For Chalet, what are your thoughts on composting dead leaves in your yard? Is it an effective method of recycling dead leaves?
Want that, Darren? You want me to take it? It's a good question. If you want to, recycle and compost existing materials on site, anything that you can keep on site and reuse, to decompose and break down, that is going to add nutrients to the soil and keep those nutrients on site versus hauling them away somewhere else. So that certainly is a good option to promote, sustainability and add nutrients to the soil. And if you're composting.
Awesome. Scott, can you talk about tankless water heaters?
Sure, we've done those a few times. Basically what that is an on-demand hot water system. We're no longer storing gallons and gallons of water. We're heating it at the time of that you're calling for it. So as you're taking a shower, they're very efficient from that standpoint. But if you've got a house load of children and you're doing laundry at the same time and washing your dishes at the same time, you're probably not going to keep up. But they're a great option for a smaller household, and we've used them successfully. Yeah.
Awesome. Michelle, the outdoor rug, does it dry fast? Yes.
Yeah, it does. And of course, it's going to depend on the humidity. It's going to depend on the day. Of course, we're in Illinois, we have a little more humidity, but it dries relatively fast. And if there's sunlight or air, it'll dry really pretty quick.
And can the outdoor furniture not be covered when not in use?
Should it be covered?
It says, can it not be covered? Wait, yeah, can the outdoor furniture not be covered when it's not in use?
I would say during the season, yes, but it's probably better to remove the cushions and put them in an area that they're protected until you're going to use them, so they stay clean and you don't have to clean them when you go out and sit down.
Awesome. Chalet, what is the impact of fertilizer and weed killer on ecosystem? What can we use instead of it?
That's you, buddy.
It really depends on can you repeat the question? So it was about just fertilizers in general and their impact.
What's the impact of fertilizers and weed killers, and what can we use as an alternative?
Gotcha. It's really going to depend on the need and the material. Some are more environmentally impactful than others. There are certain like botanical oils and actually like soaps and things that you can use and vinegars to use as weed killers or kind of pesticides and things like that if you're truly trying to be very green about it. Some of them are safer, or there are organic versions, but just be mindful of that, because even some of the more organic not only fertilizers but also pesticides or weed killers, when used in high volume, they still can be detrimental. So if you're going to use an organic solution or something like that, just use it in moderation. And sometimes the most effective method, honestly, is just manual labor and kind of pulling out the weeds and getting them out by the root if you're trying to be very green about it. There's other things you can do too, as far as like smothering them with black fabric like Typar, and basically kind of scorching an area to try to kill the vegetation and things like that. That does take a long time. It's kind of a time investment. So those are a few recommendations.
Michelle, is the lamp you have on your board the one in the raffle?
It is, but it's the smaller scale in the raffle. So in the raffle, it is a table lamp, and this is a full floor lamp. So I can actually take a little picture. But the one that's in the raffle is more neutral because I didn't know who would win. So it has a neutral shade and a neutral base, so that hopefully it fits in any space.
Eric, is it considered green to bury your downspout and hook it into your modified French drain?
In theory, there's no issue with that. You know, a French drain is kind of an all-encompassing term for a gravel or piping area, you know, system or area that's used to collect and transport water to another area, you know, a more desirable area. There's nothing wrong with that. That's, you know, we do that all the time as far as taking downspout water away from the house foundation. That's kind of the key, is you're trying to get it away from the home. So it's not seeping into the basement or whatever, but then taking it out to a lawn area or other area with a dry well or a French drain and allowing it to percolate down. So that is certainly a green solution. When you run into issues, it's when you're, you know, shoving water over on another person's property, or, you know, just causing water issues elsewhere for other people. That's when you run into issues.
Scott, can you switch from one hot water tank to the other with little problems?
I'm not exactly sure what that question means, but I mean, if you're changing out an old hot water heater to a new hot water heater, then they're relatively easy to change out. Yes. It depends on how old your unit is, how it's being vented, whether it's going through a chimney or whether it's one of the 90% furnaces that can exit out a wall. But yeah, they're relatively easy to change out. And if you're talking back at the same question is coming from the person about the tankless hot water heaters, those are relatively easy to plug and play as a substitution for a hot water heater in your house. Yes. Awesome.
Okay, we are a little over time. We have a lot of questions, but I want to make sure we get to the raffle and don't hold people too late. Michelle, I'm going to hand it back over to you. Thank you all for all those helpful answers. You guys, we have these questions saved so I can get back to you. I can get the questions to the right people and then get back to you on these answers if I didn't answer your question. But thank you all. Michelle, I'll let you take it away.
So we're so excited to be having the raffle, of course, and we're happy to have so many entries, and I hope you can hear me because I know I speak kind of soft and my microphone is off now. So our first winner is, and this will be for the signature planter from Chalet, is Katha Plack. So can you raise your hand if you are here? Katha Plack. So is Katha here?
I don't see you yet. Oh, wait, Katha, I see you. She's here. All right, we will reach out to you, Katha, via email and tell you next steps. We'll reach out to everyone via email after and tell you next steps for you winners.
Fantastic, and congratulations, Katha. So the next prize is the rechargeable outdoor designer lamp that of course is cordless, and it is a table lamp. And the winner is Colleen Groves. So Colleen Groves, please raise your hand.
Colleen, are you here? There's a little button at the bottom that says raise hand if you're here. Scrolling through our list of attendees to see if I see your name. Don't see Colleen here.
Okay, then our next runner-up for this is Taryn Engel. So please raise your hand.
Don't see them on the list either.
Okay.
Don't see any hands raising either.
All right. So we have another one. I have my backup here. So next will be Linda Potter. If you are here, raise your hand. Are you here, Linda?
Don't see a Linda.
Okay. The next runner-up.
Oh wait, Linda, I do. Linda's here. Linda's here. You raised your hand.
All right, Linda, congratulations on the lamp. Fantastic. So our next prize is going to be, it has, let's see, we have the workshop package with the revolution of the cutting board, correct, Scott? It's going to be the cutting board. Okay, and then we have coasters, we have 3 bottles of wine, and we also will have 2 custom Yeti wine tumblers. So the winner of this is Kay Comby. Kay Comby, you are the winner.
I see Kay. Yep, Kay's here.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so now we have a little drum roll and we have the grand prize. So the grand prize is from Sub-Zero, and they will have their private chef make dinner. You can invite, it's for 3 couples, and it'll be private for just you, and you will have a 4-course meal, and we will include a basket from all 4 of us here, and there'll be surprises in there for you. And the winner of this is Dejana Dabzink.
Oh, she's here.
Okay, fantastic. So congratulations, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us for the 50 Shades of Green. I hope that you got a lot of nuggets here to use in your future, and that I really hope that you also attend our next one. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.